I'm here with my friend Mike Glover. We've been talking about doing a podcast for a while.
It's been 7 years.
I know. I met you at Andy Stump's wedding. Andy sat me at the tactical table.
You were privileged enough.
Yeah.
Because of your background.
He knew that, I can't talk about my I'm triple secret. I have triple secret double clearance. And I know.
It's G14 classified. I'm
part of Task Force 0 because we don't exist.
Yeah.
And don't worry about that. No more questions in that regard. But I remember we had a good time talking. And I've been watching you lately. I've watched you for a while, but I've been watching you kind of wax poetic and wax hard on the current situation. The world's on fire.
I'll try.
I wanted to say, you hear a lot of people who are saying, we shouldn't be bombing Gaza. And I don't get into these conversations because these things get so emotional and your logic is no good anywhere. It doesn't matter. But, and we can go into what I think or what you think, and I'm sure it'll make a huge difference over there. But, but I like talking to tactical guys like you who've been in the field, Green Berets, guys who did other things, and especially guys like yourself who I know from other people, you've got a great reputation and you did a lot of stuff. So there's a big difference between somebody who's been in the theater of war and been up close and personal and done all this stuff and people who've never done that but have strong opinions. So what you'll hear a lot of times is this: we shouldn't be bombing Gaza. We should go in there with our special forces and take Hamas out. And the minute I hear that, I go, number one, you've never done anything like that. You've probably never even done a combat sport. So you're just saying, let's just send a bunch of men into tunnels where you got suicidal people, you got booby traps. It's scary enough to go into a house when somebody has a pistol, much less, taking on an army in this maze of things. So when you hear people say things like, we can solve this problem, take out Hamas using special forces, what do you think? What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's part of the issue is just not understanding the complexities of war. Yeah. And that's what this is. I mean, I heard somebody the other day say that part of this was what's called collective punishment. The Israelis are collectively punishing a populace. And I agree to an extent, but I also know how targeting works. I know how to find, fix, and finish bad guys. And so... Yeah,
you did this.
I did it for a living. And not even just as an operator, but at a very high level. I mean, to the extent of I was a sergeant major in special operations, and I was planning counterterrorism operations. I planned the NEO evacuation, the non-combatant evacuation for civilians in Mali. I did that plan as the head leader of the planning session in Germany when that entire country was falling apart, which many
was that when the Radisson Blue thing went down? And all that?
Part of it was Radisson. Part of it was Boko Haram and Al Qaeda had moved into the area through Libya. But when you look at warfare, targeting bad guys in a war zone. If I was in a fire base in Afghanistan, I have the ability against a civilian population to go out, conduct direct action operations, hostage rescue, the myriad of special operations, 7 different mission sets, and come back home safely. In VSO operations, village stabilization operations, they pushed for us to be immersed in the environment. Even then, you're in the village, you go to the other village and you kill and capture bad guys and come back. This is like the most conventional of types of war because I have a boxed zone of Hamas, who represents the government, but also the people in every form, the Ministry of Health, Interior, the list goes on. And now I'm going in to surgically strike them, but I'm surrounded by enemy. It's not even just like an insurgency where kind of that guy looks like potentially a bad guy, but he could be a good guy, and they exist. In this circumstance, anybody who's a player, anybody who's up and about is potentially a bad guy that's trying to kill me.
And not just up and about, also in tunnels.
In tunnels, you have 311 miles of tunnels, 100 feet below ground. The underground, I trained
100 feet underground.
100 feet underground. I trained for that operation specifically. It's called deep underground training. We call it DUGS training. And we trained for it because North Korea, Iran, many countries have an underground capacity. It's where they hide ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And it's where they have an underground, because they know satellites imagery, ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, we could see what's on the surface of the ground, but we can't see what's underneath it. So it's their safe zone. It's a very complex situation, and you can't just fly helos, do a helicopter assault, think you're going to kill bad guys and rescue hostages, and pull out, especially when Hamas is putting the civilians on top of them while they're underground in headquarters underneath hospitals. Or just as recent as yesterday, even today, today's number 2, they have bombed refugee camps. And I put that in air quotes, because what does that mean? Hamas, who's the interior and the media and the propaganda arm for everything that is disseminated as information, when they say 9,000 civilians have been killed, do I believe that? Yeah, I've seen the imagery. I understand that. But you're talking about Israel that's surgically striking with what's called fidelity and correlation. Fidelity is a tactical assurance term. It means that I have 2 to 3 components to make sure that I have the best information to make the right decision to drop a bomb. They're not just haphazardly pushing buttons and killing innocent civilians. And when you look at the civilian death count, whether it's 9,000, I don't believe that, because 500 of that 9,000 came from a hospital, which was a parking lot. So we're believing terrorists as headlines, but when you look at the complexities of war, civilians have always been collateral damage. 462,000 civilians were killed in Afghanistan from the coalition alone in the campaign. 2 million civilians were killed in the Afghan-Russian war. And when we look at war across the board, 6 million Jews were massacred in the Holocaust. So it's like, is this a part of it? It certainly is, but we can get hyper-vigilant, hyper-aware, and hyper-focused on terrorist tactics, including propaganda, by going up in arms and saying what the Israelis are doing is wrong. That's easy to say from our positions on our couches, eating Fritos out of our belly buttons, but that's more difficult for a country that is surrounded by the enemy in the ocean.
Well, I would also say what's missing is that, again, without getting into the weeds in this, because we can wax on this, but, Hamas is not interested in a free Palestine. Hamas is not interested in a prosperous Palestine. Hamas profits off chaos. They profit off Palestinian misery. It's what brought them to power. It's what will keep them in power. So this is always missed. I just wish sometimes that the people out there on the street protesting Palestinian deaths, which I understand. Again, I grew up with Palestinians. I lived in Lebanon for 5 years. I lived in Saudi Arabia. I know the Arabs. I love the Arabs. I do. My experience were all good.
The culture,
yeah. But at the same time, I'd like some of these people who are standing up for Palestine to say, hey, return the hostages. We got children. Create a safe passage through the Rafah gate. Or Hamas, let them go to the south. But you don't hear that. And I'm going to tear these posters down. This is again, I don't want to get into my point of view on this, but I want to stick to what you're saying, which is very interesting, which is that there is a way to conduct warfare I think most people don't understand. They're not intimate on those terms because it all comes down to the details. And if you've never done something like myself, I've shot some guns on a range. I remember I was shooting some guns on a range, and then my buddy, who was an actual ex-unit guy, Delta guy.
Did you hold the gun like that? You just demonstrated like a.
Well, I'm here, dude. I'm here, okay.
Yeah.
And then here, but usually, I'm here.
I'm not read on to those tactics.
I use a bow and arrow.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what.
I've already said too much.
Yeah. Yes, those are flechette rounds you just launched when you did that.
Yeah, that's but don't say it in French.
Okay, sorry.
But either way, I use throwing stars. Oh, I said that out loud.
Shurikens.
Cut that part.
Yeah, I've got to cut that. Shurikens it's called.
Yeah, but they're so silent. But at the end of the day, like I think what's interesting is that I had to walk toward a target and shoot. I just had to walk toward a target.
While you were walking? You moved?
I was moving, and I missed the target. I missed everything. You give me an AR-15, I'm standing still. I can, with that laser, I can hit everything.
The walking changes everything.
But you know what I mean? So when you're talking about going in there as a special forces unit with like uneven terrain, if things have been blown up, you don't know if there are munitions that aren't. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong, and you've got tunnels and everything else. I just think all of this is so much easier said than done. And the task is insane. Israel's between a rock and a hard place. It doesn't seem like if you're a military person like you would have any other choice than to do what they're doing and how they're doing it. Is that true?
There's really no other choice in the phase campaign than how they're doing it. The first phase of it is they're operationally preparing the environment. They're literally blowing routes.
Is that what they're doing? They're blowing routes.
They're blowing and destroying every potential threat in a campaign to get in phase 2 troops on the ground, which they're kind of partitioning right now. And they've already lost 10 IDF soldiers in the last couple of days of doing this.
Yeah.
And they're also prepping the objective to target the infrastructure, because the commanders is the snake's head, right? You got to cut the head off before you start to move.
And so before we go on, these guys, so you've got these planes in the air, but the Israelis have to have probably people on the ground undercover who are running reconnaissance as to who's in that building, where they're going, where the enemy is. Is that how that's working?
Most of it's done. There's 3 major components of intelligence: SIGINT, signal intelligence; HUMINT, human intelligence; and IMINT, imagery intelligence. They're mostly using those 3 components. They have likely some assets on the ground, but it's not a traditional mission set, like guys in a sniper observation post observing what's happening, lasing the target, and then a bomb drops on it.
Okay.
What they're typically doing is targeting cell phones. And they're targeting RF communication, radio communications. They're intercepting these calls. We know this publicly. This isn't classified. They're literally giving Hamas conversations on open source on the YouTube channel for Israeli Defense Forces. But when they target a cell phone, you have a geolocation of where that cell phone is located. And that's really easy, because once I get that 10-digit grid, I could relay that to the bomb and drop the bomb on the grid. And so, like, if you weigh this, let's say you have 50 civilians where this location is. What are you weighing? You're weighing, do I kill 50 civilians and kill the leader, the tactical combatant commander of Hamas, or do I wait for him to move? Well, when he moves, he's smart. He's going to move wherever there are civilians. That's how they roll. So they're weighing their risks. They have a mitigation chart. They say, this is the risk, this is the reward. Is it worth the reward? And given the circumstances, it is. And I hate to say that, but that's how warfare works.
That's such a grim task.
It is.
That's war, isn't it?
It is. But here's what's interesting is, no doubt Special Operations, Joint Special Operations Command, is sitting co-located with these guys. So when people are like, that's fake news, that's not true, it's like, it's so true. Guys, this is a sovereign nation. We're not talking about a terrorist organization that grew out of the Palestinian Authority and then basically took an entire civilian population hostage in 2007. We're talking about a sovereign nation that has existed in sovereignty since 1948. So when you look at the complexity of warfare, there are checks and balances. The IDF is following that protocol. Yes, it's killing civilians. Are we in a position as Americans to criticize the killing of civilians? I don't think so, but I get the humanitarian component. I get why college kids are talking about we need a ceasefire, because they don't understand how war works. They literally are saying that the things that have been put out by Hamas from GoPro videos captured by the IDF, where they're showing children being killed. Literally, they had a Hamas militant, terrorist, I shouldn't even say militant because that's giving him an upgrade, that admitted to how they killed kids. He heard kids in the other room, and they said, oh, we need to kill these guys. And him and his buddy shot their AKs into the room until there was no more kids crying. And they killed them all. And they admitted to that during a press conference.
That's right.
That's the situation we're in. And guys, it's very easy to say that, but if you're surrounded where security, sovereignty, and everything you stand for is on the line, like Israel, your back's against the wall. They have no choice, and they're lashing out, and this is the way they're lashing out.
Well, I think what's interesting is Hamas knew this, Iran knew this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in a lot of ways, I would say for now, their mission has been very successful. And I'm talking about Hamas and Iran, because Israeli, anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish sentiment has never been more out in the open. It's always been there, but it is basically in many circles, especially on college campuses and on the left, it is acceptable. It is celebrated. It is heralded. When I see these people tearing down posters of children who've been kidnapped, I don't know how you defend that, but That's for me. That's my point of view. Again, logic doesn't play a role here. This is biblical. This is emotional. This is all those things before it's logical for a lot of people. So that's what I find. What I think is unique and different about. I've been alive a long time, and this is what is unique about this conflict more than anything else. I think is we are seeing now the power of social media and how you can curate a narrative, if you're smart, with the kind of imagery that all of us can't handle, dead children. And that is something I think they knew about. This was planned for 2 years, and this was diabolical, but it was very smart because they said, the mainstream media no longer plays a factor. They're not nearly as powerful as something called Instagram and, TikTok. It's not, because kids watch these images and they go, I can't have this. This doesn't make sense. It's very easy to curate, your side of the story that way. And this is a game of narratives, man. This is different than any other time in history. You guys didn't deal with it in Afghanistan. You didn't deal with it in Iraq. You guys were able to keep a shroud of secrecy and do certain things. That just doesn't exist anymore, man. Yeah,
the propaganda war is certainly being ran by Hamas. When you have national media reporting on their statistics, like this hospital bombing, 500 people killed. Wait, that stat just dropped an hour after the bomb was dropped, and all of a sudden you got 500 people killed? And literally they're showing a picture of a burnt-out, propellant-burned parking lot with cars charred, and they're like talking about on MSNBC how a bomb was dropped and 500 people were killed in a hospital. It's like, wait, I don't see a hospital.
So here's the other problem. There's no fixed source of truth. If I were to say to people, for example, who are on the right, if I were to say MSNBC and the New York Times just reported on X, they would stop me before I got to X, and they would say MSNBC and New York Times, I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And then if I said to somebody on the left, Fox News and the Wall Street Journal, and they'd go, what? I'm not listening. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest threats to our democracy at this point, I think, and the breakdown of order is people's inability to even agree on what source to trust. Mm. There are plural truths just by the nature of what has happened to our social media and media landscape and technology.
They're catering to the confirmation bias. I mean, I saw on CNN how they were promoting the story of a refugee camp that was bombed. And they're showing a crater in the ground, and they're calling it a refugee camp. And then they said a couple dozen people were killed, as reported by Hamas. I'm like, well, a refugee camp doesn't just have a couple dozen people.
Right.
And this is a bombed crater, meaning a surgical strike, where there is nothing there. It's rubble. And yeah, there is collateral damage. There are civilians that were potentially killed. But when you perpetrate and try to amplify a story with headlines, you're creating a disastrous media component and propaganda that is literally changing hearts and minds. And people are hitting the streets, and they don't know why. And if you ask them why, they'll literally tell you, because of this one thing I saw. Yeah. And you say, well, that's not true.
Yeah.
They don't care. Because the confirmation bias has already been met. And this anti-Semitism that you're talking about, the danger in that is right now at the UN General Assembly, this has happened this week, they voted for a moment of silence for solidarity against Hamas and the killings of innocent Jews. They voted it down because they didn't have the majority share. And then when they voted it down and announced that, they celebrated. So who's gaining international support? Iran and Hamas.
That's right.
And so now when you look at an international conflict, how are we going to be positioned in this? We're behind the ball already.
Yep.
And if we get involved and it's World War III, we're going to be potentially the bad guys where nobody as a coalition joins and they all resist. And that's going to be scary for us.
Very scary, man. But again, this goes back to how Israel handles this incursion. So they're bombing and creating routes, right? They're routes for their tanks to come in and their troops. So when you do it, you come in here, you've got SIGINT, you've got HUMINT, you've got what is the other?
EMINT. Yeah.
What is that?
Imagery intelligence.
Yeah. And so now you're doing these surgical strikes. People are dying, of course, but you're getting a lot of the bad guys, hopefully, and a lot of the Hamas. Now, what is the next phase? You come in with tanks and troops to do what?
You're basically backfilling real estate. I mean, what you're doing is you're gaining ground and then you're holding that ground because you're advancing and establishing, in this case, it would be a demilitarized zone. I mean, think South Korea, North Korea, where you have this gap space that's demilitarized. There's occupation by both sides and parties, and we're at a stalemate. There wasn't a peace treaty signed in 1953. It was a stalemate treaty that was signed between America
That makes
and
me
North
think
Korea.
that Israelis are going to be in Gaza for a long time.
Netanyahu said the other day that this is going to be a long war, and I'm paraphrasing here, but a long war, and this could take years. That's the fear. Because the problem, as we saw an invasion, is when you become an invasion force, at some point you become an occupation. And we literally are occupying real estate. Israel is going to push through. We're going to support them in any way necessary as a coalition, whether it's, I mean, Marines right now are training with the IDF off the coast when a Marine Expeditionary Unit came in and they're doing drills. They're not doing drills, they're doing rehearsals for war. And so they just canceled the Marine Corps ball today.
So we're gonna have Americans.
We're gonna have Americans on the ground.
We are
100%.
Really.
I believe 100%.
That's a gamble.
When Central Command cancels the Marine Corps ball, and we have a Marine Expeditionary Unit, we have the 82nd Airborne Division, 173rd, all on alert status to deploy within an 18-hour period. We are preemptively setting the stage for war. We've had 20 I just spit on your cashmere.
I like that.
We'll just have to cut that sleep off.
Just
came from Skid Row.
No,
I
want some of your war spit on my cashmere.
Yeah, it was war spit before I went to Skid Row. Now it's just hepatitis.
Good. Yeah. You can't be making out with all the.
Okay, I meant just two guys.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you weren't looking them in the eyes, keep going.
Yeah, when you I did though. When you have a situation like that and you occupy real estate, the question is, what do you do? What do you set the stage for? You set the stage for being attacked. You set the stage for being probed, for being attacked, for being killed, and they can't do that. You got to go in. You got to conduct the counterterrorism operation. It's got to be that
when they're
operation.
Holding territory, they're going to be going in those tunnels. They're going to be doing all that stuff.
They're going to do it both top to bottom.
And you got to do that basically inch by inch.
Inch by inch.
And then hold inch by inch.
It is like Fallujah, for those who understand Fallujah and how it went down. It is like the invasion of Afghanistan. It is like my time period in my 5 trips to war in Iraq, Sadr City, where it's a free fire zone, Mahdi militia. We go into the walls of Sadr City, and it's game on. They're occupying that space, and they're setting the stage for, yes, they can kill the leaders of Hamas, but believe me when I say, based on all the years of experience that I have, you would be very unintelligent and foolish to believe that all the children, all the young teenagers, all the military-age males who aren't a part of Hamas now, that they're not becoming parts of Hamas now because what they are experiencing. Yeah, I mean, you're breeding terrorism. Yeah. And I hate to say it that way, and it's a conundrum. It's a double-edged sword. But
you can see why throughout history, they would kill. They would just draw a line and say, if you're a male over this line, you're getting killed.
I've killed bad guys on target and watched their son's eyes look at me like I was the devil. And what do I look like from that side of that perspective? I'm green eyes, black rifles, infiltrating at night into their home, killing their dad, even though their dad was a shithead terrorist and he was on the list and he killed Americans.
Not to that kid he wasn't.
Not to that kid he wasn't. To that kid, he was his world. He was a hero. He was a freedom fighter. Take that and because I understand the Palestinian side of this.
Yeah,
I don't understand the
too.
Hamas side because there's ignorance, because that's very binary for me to understand terrorism.
Yeah, me too.
But the Palestinian
I separate
people,
the Palestinian people from Hamas.
100%.
And I think the Palestinian,
you have to. I take it from King Abdullah, right? King Abdullah, who I respect. I've trained with Jordanians.
King of Jordan? Yeah.
Yeah, the King of Jordan.
Yeah, he's been a real player, and his father was a real player in peace in the Middle East.
He is a boss.
Yes.
He's a boss. He's trained in America in special operations. He's done joint operations. He's facilitated counterterrorism operations throughout the globe for America. King Abdullah said 70% of his people, by the way, are Palestinian. The Palestinian Authority is based out of Jordan. And they said, we're not taking one refugee. I'm like, whoa. Well, man, they're drawing the line in the sand. Egypt and Jordan will not take refugees.
Why is that, do you think?
That's because they don't want the drama. That's what I think. Base it in is they don't want to see what happened to Turkey when refugees were pushed out of Syria. They don't want,
which is that
terrorism.
you get a radicalized, traumatized group of people.
Yes.
Who, yeah.
And Jordan's
because how do you think they are dealing with, so as they move civilians south into South Gaza, in your estimation, how are they making sure that Hamas fighters aren't mixing in with that population?
Well, I think certainly they are, but I would say that would be the minority because they need the fighting age males to be fighting Israel. In
so you think the fighting age males are digging their boots in the ground? They're fighting
underground.
The IDF.
Yeah, they're prepared for war.
And they're ready.
They're prepared for martyrdom.
Is that right?
They're willing to. Look, the most deadly fighters I've ever fought. I had a guy 15 yards away from me clack himself off. Like I understand.
He killed himself.
Killed himself. Blew himself up. Killed
because he didn't want to go out.
Yeah, he was a Libyan foreign fighter, and we had a dog, one of our dogs, that bit him, and he shot the dog, and then he clacked himself off. And that happened 15 yards away from me. We did a little mini documentary about it, paying homage and honor to the dogs that fight in war on Black Rifle Coffee.
Was he the guy who you talked about on Andy's podcast, Cleared Hot, where you could tell he was a fighter like you were in terms of like how he was dressed?
He was a boss, man.
He was a boss.
I got a picture of him.
Wow.
Which sounds horrible. What I mean is we do sensitive site exploitation, and we take pictures of bad guys and how they're rigged.
Yeah.
For sensitive site exploitation in the future, evidence for the future.
But he was a Spartan. This guy was a Spartan.
Dude, he was probably my height. I'm 6'1". He was a big guy. He had a furrowed brow, like just intense look on his face. He had a chest rig. He had grenades. He died with a grenade in his hand.
Wow.
He had a clacking device to detonate his vest that was full of C4. And he had nails embedded in his C4. He had hiking boots, like a solo hiking boots. He had a Seiko watch, which I own. And
so you were looking almost at yourself as
yes.
a guy who was fighting for it's like...
Yeah, I get chills now just thinking about it.
Warriors recognize warriors.
Well, I was just like, well, I understand. I think most special operations guys and most people who've been to war that close in confrontation with the enemy have a level of respect for their cause, their purpose, their ideology.
Well, I think, I talked to some guys who are, were operators like that. And one of the things they say is, when I would engage the enemy and we would get the best of them, and then you go up and you see what you did, and you look at these guys, you realize that they might be your age, they might be a lot younger, and then you say to yourself, they're fighting for an ideology. It's a bad ideology. It's a bad idea. But if I had been born in this circumstance, I'd be doing it.
You'd be that guy.
I'd be that guy.
100%.
That's the fog of war. That's an
100%.
interesting thing because that is the intimacy, and I call it intimacy, that you would never get unless you did it. And that's the kind of thing that you could never understand unless you lived it, which is why I'm always really mum around any of that stuff. It's just, there's such a difference between if you were a wrestler, you do jiu-jitsu, you spar or whatever it is, there's such a difference between that and actual war.
Yeah.
Where the whole game is man, game, wager, and all.
Yeah.
It's like
the stakes are high.
It's crazy, man.
I use this analogy in war. I just talked about this recently. It's like the origin of sound. And at the origin of sound, it's not just sound. What I mean is, like, imagine you hear something. The further away you are from that sound, it's just sound. But if you're near the origin of sound, it's concussion. It's feeling. It's a blast of intensity that you feel vibrate through your body. That's what war is. And people's opinions, when you look at the central focal point of sound, are based on echoes. And the more echoing, the more bouncing of that sound off the walls, the more people have opinions about something they don't know the origins of. So when you're on top of it and you feel it in your chest and you feel it in your soul, that's very different than being disproportionately next to a wall that's bouncing the sound where you're like, oh, well, let me make my uninformed opinion about this thing I don't know anything about, but I'm going to make it sound really good for you. And people are like, oh, I guess he thinks he knows what he's talking about, so it makes sense to me.
Well, I deal with this all the time when people start talking about their problems with, say, Islam and the Arabs. It's like you're getting your information. You've not been to those countries. You never met an Arab. You're getting your information from what you have seen from a very, very far. Your proximity is, you're a world away, and you can't judge how people feel from a Pew Research poll.
Yeah.
And people do all the time. They cite these things. And I will hear people talk about the Arabs and these countries, and I don't recognize, as somebody who's been there and spent a lot of time and grew up around them, I don't recognize anything. I don't recognize what they're talking about. A lot of times I just find myself being quiet because unless you've lived it, you're not going to understand that it's so much more nuanced and complicated. And the majority of people, regardless of what their religion or what their culture is, usually for the most part are not really thinking about their religion. They're not really thinking about that stuff. They kind of want to be left alone. They're not as religious as you think. It's
day by day.
Yeah, it's day by day. It's always way. But having said that, I do think there comes a time in life and when you do have to draw bad lines, and you have to stand by those lines and defend those lines. And I think I hear a lot of people also say, well, I'm against war and I'm pro-humanity and I'm against killing of all people. I think that's an easy cop-out. Israel doesn't have that luxury. If you ever want to know why, and if you ever want to know why why someone like Netanyahu or just Israelis or Jews in general wanted a homeland, if you're confused by the fact that they wanted a homeland, well, just see how the world reacted after 1,400 of them were slaughtered and taken hostage, and another 3,500 were wounded. People want more of that. Yeah. They celebrate it.
Justify
now, if you didn't have a homeland and you were at the mercy of a government that you weren't in or weren't running or weren't part of, and you were a guest in a country, just look at the history. Look at the history of what would happen. You did have pogroms. You did have people like those Dagestanis coming into your village and doing whatever they wanted. So that is the history of the Jews. So, if it's a surprise to you that they not only want their own homeland, but they want a robust enough military response, then you're not living in reality. I always think that one of the most incredible things is that there were 9 million of them. There are 15 million overall in the world only. And somehow they figured out a way, however they did it, to create the strongest, most lethal, overwhelming army in that entire region. That's pretty impressive.
I wonder if the national media going back to 9/11 on September, let's call it October 31st, was giving statistics of how many civilians we were killing in Afghanistan when we invaded it around that time.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of the equation.
No.
It was vengeance.
Yeah.
It was, we have a job to do, and the job is killing them all.
Yeah.
And
you didn't hear a peep out of any of that.
Not one
stuff.
peep.
And we all assumed that there was collateral damage.
Yeah.
And if you were a compassionate person, nobody likes that. You say a prayer. My buddy is he's Muslim and he's fairly visible, and he said, I don't know what to do or say. And I said, listen, sometimes in life you find yourself saying a prayer and shaking your head because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
I find myself doing that. I literally find myself just, I'm not the most religious person, but I pray over this stuff because I don't have a fucking answer, man. Yeah. Or at least I personally think I have an answer, but no matter what I say, nothing's going to change. I can't make a difference. This has been going on from time immemorial. But I do think what's different about this though now is that winning the war of imagery, winning the narrative is more important than ever. And I don't think we've ever faced that. That's a very fucking difficult war to wage. It's very different. It's chaos. You can have all the sophisticated weaponry you want, but if you're creating the kind of imagery that Hamas wants over and over again, it gets real tough. So I'm glad I'm not having to make those decisions. But I do think that we're getting to a point you, myself, anybody, where political and philosophical commitment is a must. You don't have the luxury of being general anymore. You have to decide what's right. And, again, I just think some crimes there's that stop everything button.
Yeah. There's some issues that need a binary, it's either a 1 or a 0, but I tell people in this whole situation, it's like my opinion of it. If we were at war with North Korea, I would literally be packing a 338 Lapua and going to war. Yeah. I told my guys that some of them are Asian, like, hey, that's where I'll be. Like the motherland. I'll be supporting that cause. For this campaign, I don't have that bias. I don't have that buy-in because I'm not Jewish. I'm not Palestinian or Muslim. But I stand back, and my perspective is terrorism is bad. Also, my perspective is I don't like innocent people being killed. So it's not a conundrum. You don't have to pick a side. This isn't a spectator sport.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was very clear. Once I saw that what Hamas did, I said, number one, you guys have been planning that for 2 years. So you've been at war with Israel for 2 years. You've been committing aggression, whether you're not or not. We can talk about the open air prison. We can talk about how awful the Palestinians have had it. We can have that conversation. I could talk to you about that all day long. I've been to the West Bank. I was there very recently. I spoke to the Palestinians there. I grew up around Palestinians. They recognized me from The Hangover, by the way. It's kind of cool, so I'm hanging out with them.
So
but awesome. I could sense the humiliation and the anger.
Yeah.
I could see it. I saw the wall. I talked to a lot of people. I talked to Jews. I talked to left-wing Jews. I talked to right-wing Jews. I talked to Arabs. I talked to Arabs that are Israeli citizens. I talked to Israelis that are not, who are over in the West Bank. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing new. I didn't come out with anything that I'm not going to tell you anything that people haven't said 1,000 times. But I think you're right. I think that regardless, if there are certain things that happen where Hamas made that, I believe you have to show Hamas or anyone else that kind of behavior. You want to take hostages? You want to kill entire families in their pajamas? Well, I'm going to teach you a lesson, and that lesson is very simple. There is zero profit in that kind of behavior. You will get no profit, and you will lose everything as a result of it. Everything. And that means what I have to do is I make no more do I make a distinction between the political wing of Hamas and the military wing of Hamas. I don't do that anymore. I don't distinguish between whether you are in Doha or whether you are in, or in Gaza. Sorry, because everybody had a handle on it, and Iran's a whole nother story. You better, they obviously had their fingerprints all over this in one way or another. And again, you guys pulled it off. I'm sure you're getting something out of it. I think in those situations, when it comes to war, when it comes to Israel, the conversation they're having, I guarantee is, I don't care what happens. I don't care how many people hate us. They hate us anyway, always have. But we're going to show the entire world, and especially Hamas and Iran and anybody else out there, that this was the biggest mistake they could have made because it's the end of you. And I think am I wrong about?
Everything you said is completely reasonable. I think that's what most people.
And don't you think that's what they're going to do? Don't you think that's the conversation they've been having? Or, I mean, I'm sure it's more nuanced, but.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is all of the rage and all of the potential dangers of the fallout of this, radicalizing people, even in America, with the uptick in anti-Semitism. That's always existed, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just been dormant.
Yeah.
People are looking for excuses now, but they're running with their bias. And
the one thing I'd say about that, though, is that's hard to sustain. So the loudest people that freak out, they have short attention spans. They get very hot.
Yeah.
But, they're also on a team, and these things go on way longer. They go on surreptitiously too.
100%. I don't think they have the bandwidth. I don't think most people honestly care at the root of the problem because they're just addressing the symptoms. They're reacting to something emotionally, like you said. The problem in all of this is that long burn, that sustaining that effort of being angry could be part of the campaign if we're invested in World War III. If this becomes a regional war that we're involved in long term, you better believe all the things that we're talking about are going to be problematic as that campaign continues.
How do you see that playing out? Hezbollah getting involved, the two-front war Iran.
I honestly think part of it is an activation of, look, 19 terrorists with box cutters killed 3,000 people. A lot of people forget about that. The TSA wasn't evolving out of the threat of bombs, bullets, and guns. It was box cutters. So razor blades in shrouded metal, basically a utensil, was literally the reason that the TSA was invented from that terrorist attack, because of how clever and creative they were. The 19 Saudis came into our country, got virtual training, had a plan, and wreaked havoc. That was not a lot of effort. I think people campaign
low tech, very low tech.
Very low tech.
Yeah.
Right? So now
high concept, low tech, right?
Now when we look at like eliciting control.
Yeah.
If I wanted to elicit control, I wouldn't have a sleeper cell wreak havoc. I would have them wreak chaos. I would have a splinter cell of 3 operatives go in 3 different locations at the same time on a specific date and spray up a crowd. I don't even care if they kill anybody, because if it's New York, Los Angeles, and Austin, Texas, then that means something is deeper and darker. Something's being planned, and now we have to react. How do they react? How does the government typically react? With control. Now, all of a sudden, American people are outraged, and you cause infighting. So 3 individuals with a plan of sporadically doing something in sync with one another seems like a more complex thing than it is, and then we shut down everything. Every American has to go everywhere, show a card, you get checkpoints, you're being triple screened.
Surveillance state. We live in a surveillance state. That's the Patriot Act.
And now we're flipping the script, and the Patriot Act gets an amplification.
That's right.
And now all the chaos, just like they do with propaganda, is all infighting. They're destroying our country from the inside out.
That's exactly right. That's a really good point that a lot of people miss. It's a very good point, but you would know it as somebody who's schooled in warfare. There are many players, Iran, Hamas, lots of players, that profit off of chaos. They are not interested in order. See, my mindset is, my God, turn Gaza into Monaco. Let the Palestinian people live this wonderful life. They have a beachfront, get irrigation in there, build schools, build beautiful buildings, have a treaty with Israel, have trade, get in there. Like that, I want that for them.
Amazing.
I want that for them. I want
awesome.
the Palestinians to be flourishing in this. I want to be able to go there on vacation and go to the beach. There's
100%.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I think. But that's not how the players think. The players are like, that's not what keeps me in power. Chaos keeps me in power. I need chaos.
Yeah.
Without the threat of the United States, the hardliners in Iran are not in power. They need this constant adversary.
Netanyahu needs to campaign. Look, I know what warmongering is, because I was part of an institution that thrived and got a lot of return on investing in warmongering. And I kind of saw that from a strategic perspective, not just a tactical perspective, because we had a job to do, but from a strategic perspective, Netanyahu, with this campaign, is now seated in power. He was about to be thrusted out of every position of power, and now he's recampaigned, reinvigorated the Israeli people, and he's back in the fight, right? And that is scary, because maybe, just maybe, if you understand how operational minds and military-minded people operate, where they understand that's their investment, that's their collateral, then, man, he's doing everything possible to stay engaged. Because every single time he does a press conference and he tells the international community to pound sand, and he's like, we're doing what we do, and every Israeli at home secretly, even if they were against him, is like, yes, this is what we need to get back to, because they want the fight. Just like Hamas wanted the fight. Inherently, young men across the entire globe want the fight. That's what this may be playing out to be. It's like, we're just reinvigorating.
I think that's always lost on a lot of people. Men, it takes very little for men to want to want the fight. Like after 9/11, I remember I was so angry. I was so that heat that you can't explain, where it's a bloodlust. That's so easy to get into young men. It's so easy. It's ingrained, dude. Yeah. It's ingrained.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears because something I'm woefully unprepared for is the zombie apocalypse, and you have Fieldcraft Survival. and you teach people how to get ready. And I think the biggest mistake everyone makes, including me, is thinking the order of life will be fine and I'll never face an emergency. And it's irresponsible. And I've been wanting to come out, shoot something with you so that we can I just want to, or just take your course, because I carry a knife in my car in case I have to do this. I live in California. I can't have a gun in my car without going through a whole bunch of shit. And even then, what am I going to do? Like pull, there's this idea, there's a spree shooter, get him. There's 1,000 things that I've never, I can't, it's a little more complicated. Yeah. So can you break down what if you could get everybody's ear, if you could get the average housewife's ear, the average civilian's ear, what they need in their car and what they should have in their house? What do you think is the most, what is sorely lacking? Because when there's an emergency, when there's a natural disaster, everybody thinks a FEMA helicopter is going to land in their backyard and have blankets, food, and a doctor. Ain't how it works. You're usually on your own for a week.
Yeah. I sent you a book. You didn't read it, obviously.
You didn't send me a book.
I did. I sent you the premiere package. I have the shipping
I never
number.
got it.
Send
me the
arrived.
Where'd you send it? Watch this.
To your home address. Did you move?
In where? In
Look at our text. Yeah.
No.
I did.
I never got it. I would have 100% read it.
No, you lied.
You sent me a book.
It's called Prepared, a manual for surviving.
Never got it.
A national bestseller, no big deal.
I never got it. I would have read it. I never got it.
You could have bought it.
Did you? What else did you send in there?
It's a 20-liter go bag that we carry at Philcraft.
You never sent me that.
Straight up. I have pictures.
I never get any of that.
I did. I sent it.
I bet you
I sent Brendan the whole mobility package.
You sent it to my Venice address. Did you send it to my Venice address?
How much real estate do you have?
I moved. I'm a land baron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a land baron. Okay. I bet you it's sitting in my Venice address.
I sent it to your Skid Row address.
When I saw you, did I give you an address when we saw you? You sent it to my Venice address.
You don't live there anymore?
No.
Well, somebody who lives at that address is prepared.
Dude, I would have sent you a text saying thank you. Did you ever get a response from me? No.
I didn't, because I just thought that's how celebrities roll.
No, that's not how I roll.
Like
I would have been like,
busy
no, I would have taken a picture of it and said thank you very much. I don't roll like that.
I didn't know that.
And I thank you for calling me a celebrity. Where's my camera? Dude, I look good.
You look handsome. Yeah. That cashmere brings out the glow in you.
Well, you were surprised at how tall I was and the way I moved.
Yeah.
You moved like a fucking jungle cat.
Well, it said you were 5'6" on your Wikipedia.
It didn't say that. It said no. It never said that. No, it never said that either. So I don't like the way you're fucking talking. I have short legs and a long torso, so maybe if my torso.
You have a Japanese torso.
I do have a Japanese torso, and it comes from my years of karate. All right? I'm studying karate. And I'll tell you something else. I studied karate for so long that in a lot of ways, I am
karate. You are. You're a weapon.
Your accent in Japanese sucks. No, see, because you're Korean and you're making fun of the Japanese.
I know, it's
even
so
though
horrible.
One of your assistants
There's
is
one's
Japanese.
in the room.
Yoshi Miyagi is his name. That's a true story. Mike's assistant is named Yoshi Miyagi.
Yeah.
And
this is going to be used in the trial, the HR trial.
Well, you just turned every Korean fan of yours is now like, fuck that guy, unsubscribe.
I'm a rooftop Korean.
All right.
Power to Korea. 안녕하세요.
Go. You don't even speak Korean, do you?
I do. I could read and write it.
That's
because
so
it's phonetic,
dude.
I know it's so
because I can tell by the way you said 안녕하세요. I was like,
I know.
All right, now.
So you're not prepared because you didn't read the book.
So you sent me a book, and what else?
A 20-liter with our survival kit and a first aid kit for your vehicle.
What the fuck is it?
For your family.
I want that.
For your family.
Send it to me.
I will. I'll send you another one.
What's in it?
So here, let me just break down the whole preparedness thing. One of the things, let me give you an example of where I just came from. Skid Row. I just came from Skid Row. I was with LAPD, kind of talking to some officers about the situation and what's going on in the country. LAPD's, if you're a tier 3 call, if you're a level 3 call, that's an emergency that needs to be responded to immediately. 6 years ago, that call's response time was 2 minutes. 2 minutes. In your district, depending on where you lived in Los Angeles, you had 24 officers. You had a lot of cars of a lot of police officers that were ready to respond at a moment's notice. 12 cars.
Wow.
2 minutes. That's a stabbing, a shooting. I'm going to die. Level 2 was 10 to 12 minutes. Now, because the mayor of Los Angeles decided to defund the police by $186 million.
Liberal.
Yeah,
Sorry.
$186 million. I now know the average response time to be at tier 3, 8 to 10 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes.
So people die.
So people die.
People die.
And then 20 minutes for level 2. So that's like somebody's breaking in my house. Like I heard noise outside. It sounds like somebody's rattling the window. 20 minutes. No. If you're like level 3, which is like we'll get to you when we get to you, hours. Like somebody just burglarized my car.
Happen.
Yeah, literally hours. The problem with that statistic is we don't understand as civilians when it comes to scenarios like violent attacks, assaults, murder, the list goes on, self-defense actions. You are your own first response. Even in an accident,
you are your own
first response. Yes. You have to be prepared. Like my good friend, many of my good friends say, including Greg Anderson, like no one's coming to save you. You have to be responsible for policing yourself up in the moment, because by the time the police get there, they're just policing you up, like whatever's left of you, right? So when it comes to self-defense, when it comes to first aid and accidents, when it comes to situational awareness, you have to be prepared. That's a mindset. That's not a hobby. That's not like I go down to a range in San Bernardino, shoot into a mountain, and throw a paper target and impress myself on Instagram and say, I'm good to go. That's like you just paying attention. Now, statistically, in the probable is all the bad things that happen to you aren't going to be the zombie apocalypse, the World War III. It's not going to be the nuclear fallout, the EMP. It's going to be the statistical probable, the being a victim of violent assault, being a victim of burglary, being a victim of an accident.
Yeah.
So
accidents are probably the biggest one.
The biggest one. So I don't focus on fear-mongering off statistical and probable things that are going to happen to you, even though what we say is if you're prepared for the worst-case scenario. Like if you're prepared for the active shooter right now, what else are you prepared for? Well, the self-defense situation at the gas station, right? The mugging of another person at the grocery store. You're prepared as a responsible citizen to address these things.
Yeah.
So I want you to prepare for the worst case, certainly not the best or optimal. And when you are prepared for the worst case, you are covered down on. The number one priority to me is your own mental resilience. And that's your ability to be, when knocked to your ass, to get up back on your feet. And that's just in life, but also in a worst case scenario.
That's why you have to rehearse in your mind, don't you? You have to rehearse.
Yeah, we call that building scripts. Like rehearsing is so important. It's what we do in the military.
People think you're going to rise to the level of you're going to rise to the level of whatever. You're going to sink to the level of your training, right?
100%.
That's always.
Yeah, we're never going to rise to the occasion. We're going to fall back.
It's like that's why I think just knowing that, just like doing a little bit of martial arts. Like the minute that somebody's never rolled and you grab them, what do? They panic. If you get on top of somebody and just smother them, they're like, well, I can't breathe. They freak out.
Yeah.
If you box, if you're boxing and you punch somebody in the face and they've never been punched in the face, I don't care how tough they are. You know what they do? Everybody, they go like that.
They roll into a ball.
They do that right away. No matter how tough you are, you just do that. It takes a while to make yourself smaller and see the shots. You know, I shouldn't give my secrets away.
You're doing some things that just shouldn't put on TV.
Well, you were hitting and I was just doing this. I was rolling with shots and I was going, good, Mike, that's good.
Yeah.
Bop.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah.
So I underhooked you and then threw you to the ground.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because you're 127 pounds.
No, I'm not, dude. I'm 170. Take that fucking back.
Really?
Yeah, dude, I'm compact.
Where's all your weight at?
Well, a lot of it's in my ass and my dick. Okay, but keep going. Get serious.
Okay, so yeah, as a protocol.
Don't put your hands, careful where you put your hands. No, because I'm trained.
Yeah. You don't want to do the size comparison of our hands.
You're a thick kid. Although I don't think your hands.
You have this weird disjointed thing that
that's from
you got in the service.
I broke that hitting a guy.
Oh, did you really?
Get this. In fact, he was Korean and Irish.
Yeah,
which is what you are. And I hit him like this. We were sparring.
Was he in a wheelchair? Because you threw down like he was in a wheelchair.
We were sparring in something called Taekwondo. And it's Korean.
I like how you said it. Yeah. Just like a Korean.
Not Tangsu though, but Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
And but my teacher was a boxer, so he taught us how to. That's why when you guys see me throw hands, it's scary.
You always throw them down here like they're in wheelchairs.
Instead of hooking here, I hooked here, I think, and I hit my thing, and I never got it fixed. I was
broke
like,
it.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it makes your hand white.
It's awful.
Appear to be larger.
I got big hands, dude.
Do you?
I mean, I got a dick on me here. Yeah. Stop. This is so silly. It's like when you try to. My hands are just as big
No,
as
they're not.
yours.
You're right.
Bro, that's
you're like my
Let me
hand.
see. This is so silly. Don't move, all right? Dude, I just fucking hand
They're
dominated
massive.
you. Yeah.
What size shoe you wear?
Ah, dude. Fucking,
6?
Yeah, let me show you what I'm working with. You're welcome. All right. This is a serious podcast.
Yeah, prepared.
I call this podcast Off Limits.
Off limits, prepared. The number one thing in preparedness is honestly having a conversation about it. I think like a lot of people get overwhelmed, and I say, look, it depends. There are staples of preparedness. Like you should be prepared for stop the bleed, applying a tourniquate. These are basic things that
I don't know how to do that. I mean, I think I would.
You should.
Guess, yeah. So if you're bleeding, just tie something, shoelace around.
No, definitely not a shoelace.
Not a shoelace.
Yeah, not a shoelace.
A shirt.
So
my bandana.
You could use a bandana.
Yeah.
Cravats and sticks were used for years. And then in the Army in the 90s, in the infantry, I used sticks and cravats, but now we have tourniquets.
Were you a medic?
Yeah. No, okay. I did a lot of medical stuff, though. I was very interested in being a medic. At one point, I was, actually. For one period of time, I reclassed to a medic in the National Guard before I went back on active duty.
And so tourniquet. Learning how to tie a tourniquet.
Learning to apply a tourniquet is important.
Okay.
You have brachial arteries up top. You have femoral arteries on the bottom. Highways for blood. If you sever a major arterial bleed in your upper body, your arms and legs, you'll die.
8 seconds.
You have more than that, but you don't have much time.
Okay.
And if you don't stop the bleed, the thing about bleeding is blood has to be put back into you. You have a femoral or arterial bleed, you need a higher level of care. So what we learned in combat is like you could apply your own stop the bleed and then get to a higher level of care.
Got it.
In the U.S., 40,000 people die in vehicle accidents every year. 1 million are injured in accidents, motor vehicle accidents. 1 million live with those injuries, and another million are injured in some way. So 2 million people are injured from these accidents.
Wow.
I think about the statistic of how many people are potentially dying inside their vehicle. I've literally applied tourniquets in motor vehicle accidents in the U.S. when people had nothing, like literally had nothing. And there's always those tragic stories of like the hunter fell out of the tree stand.
Right.
You know, the kid was mowing the lawn, whatever it is, and people bleed to death. It's like, why would you not be prepared for accidents that are happening to you, your family, or people you love?
Yeah. Or burns or things like that.
Burns.
So knowing how to do the basic first aid is one of the things you guys teach.
As a priority, it's one of the things that we teach.
What are the tools someone should have in their car, do you think?
Well, there's the staples of mobility. One of them is a first aid kit to stop the bleed. Okay. We do a bleeding control kit. We actually have a vehicle trauma kit at fieldcraftsurvival.com. And we also have a survival kit. If you, look, a 22-year-old girl died in her vehicle in Buffalo, New York in a winter storm last winter. And she was 50 feet from a house.
Fuck.
She was in her vehicle. She decided, hey, get on FaceTime, call her family. They said, hey, just relax. The snow covered the exhaust. She died from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's like in America.
She didn't realize it.
She didn't realize it. 17 people died outside in Buffalo, New York that were mostly found in snowbanks because they died of hypothermia.
They just died. They froze to death.
They froze to death. So if you don't have a Mylar space blanket, a bivy sack to get into during the wintertime.
In your car.
In your car.
Yeah.
Look, it relates to capacity for us. Like if you right now, I venture this question. If you right now had 72 hours to survive with what was on your person, your cashmere sweater.
Yeah.
What is that going to do for you? Nothing.
Nothing.
You look very handsome.
I do look
It brings out your eyes.
Thank you so much.
But outside of that, you'll just die because you have all the capacity.
Yeah.
You have the ability to carry a MERS, European man satchel, whatever you're into. European man satchel, I'm sure.
I've never heard anybody say MERS.
MERS. You're more into MERSes.
MERS is that's a man purse.
Man purse. Yeah.
Fuck, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I call my a-hole, because I keep a lot of contraband
in your a-hole.
Oh, no. I keep
MRSA.
a lot of my contraband in my but I shouldn't tell you that stuff because that's only when I'm on mission.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are going, where's your first aid?
Yeah.
Where are your snacks?
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't worry.
Where's your
about
Glock 19? And you're like,
I keep it in my keister.
Yeah, it's a cachet.
Yeah, in my prison wallet. Okay, now in my mud whistle. All right. Thanks, Mike. I'm glad we're really covering a lot of ground.
So if you right now had to survive 72 hours, your person, the things that you carry every day, that's your capacity.
Well,
that's your capability.
You need something to start a fire with. I mean, you need
carry a lighter.
Literally, that can save your ass.
Yeah.
If it gets cold.
A Bic lighter has 10,000 strikes, and it's better than rubbing sticks together naked and afraid in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when you look at your vehicle, that's an extension of your capability.
Yes.
Because you have more space.
Yes.
Like if you don't have a first aid, if on your person you don't have a first aid kit, somewhere in the vicinity of you, you should. And if you have a vehicle and your trunk's empty, you should have the ability to treat your family, treat yourself, and treat anybody you come across, because that's your responsibility as a citizen. Same thing with the home. If you're carrying a tourniquet, your vehicle is the ambulance, your home should be the hospital.
Right.
Why would you not have a stockpile of antibiotics? Why would you not be able to do higher upgraded levels of care? If the grid shuts down, the hospital you typically go to is overwhelmed, don't have electricity, now you have the ability to treat it at home.
You teach this at Fieldcraft Survival.
Yes.
So you can go to fieldcraftsurvival.com and do what? Like actually buy the kits?
So part of it is products on fieldcraftsurvival.com. We have an app called the Fieldcraft Survival app that's virtual training. Everything from canning and jarring to self-defense. Like, and one thing, like I always preface this by, I am not the subject matter expert of preparedness. I'm not. I'm a good facilitator. I'm a good conduit.
I know, but just a little bit goes such a long way.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way.
Nobody knows even a little bit.
Yes. I'm good for bridging the gap, but I have experts. Like Amber L. She is a stay-at-home mom, family preparedness director for Fieldcraft Survival, and she teaches you all that. You know what she did for my kids the other day? She got a little fanny pack, and we did an emergency card with all of the emergency information just in case something happened for my 4-year-olds. So they're out and about. They don't understand anything because they can't speak. I mean, they speak, but they speak in tongues and Korean. And Chinese Mandarin. They know Mandarin.
You teach them only Mandarin.
Only Mandarin.
That's it.
So
they live on high-protein gruel and they sleep on a marble slab.
Kimchi.
Because they have to understand kimchi and rice.
Kimchi is right. It's the best for you.
Sorry for not being culturally sensitive to your homeland.
You said gruel.
Korea.
That's Japan.
The language that you speak
Japanese.
4 words in.
Is that Japanese? Gruel?
Gruel is Spartan, dude.
Yeah, it's a sushi roll they carry in Japan. Gruel.
Yeah, you have to carry sushi with you at all times.
Yeah.
And you have to have ice. That's my Metro preparedness kit.
Yeah.
Which is a credit card, sushi,
dental floss,
and like a little fan that keeps me cool.
Yeah.
And then
I like that.
Yeah.
What else do you carry? What's your EDC, your everyday carry?
My everyday carry?
Yeah, do you carry stuff every day besides cashmere?
It's just I carry a concealer stick just because sometimes your face doesn't cooperate. And I have a face tightener just to pull my face back a little bit.
It's a rubber band that pulls your ears.
It's better to look good. I just want to look good. I don't give a fuck.
It's a tourniquet too. If you had to pull it off,
I want to look like a young hero. I don't want to be a young hero.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
what else? What else do you do?
Yeah.
Chapstick?
I would always feel comfortable. I think for me, I have tape. I have gloves. I have candles. I have. I sound like a serial killer. I have
flex cuffs.
I have rope. I have a soundproof dungeon.
Pills.
I've got chloroform. A van with no windows. I did a little bit of that stuff where I have like blankets. I've got warm clothes. I'm afraid of being cold, and I live in California.
Yeah,
so it's kind
like
of
85 degrees.
I know. I'm like, you never know.
You never know.
But I will say this: like, I do keep like blankets. I keep like extra sweatshirts and stuff, and then I have my lighters and I have my fire making shit just in my trunk.
You do?
I do.
You have fire making stuff?
Yeah, and I have gloves, and I have like I've got like the kind of tape, the steel tape that you never know. I got little shit like I got rope. I got stuff in case there's I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I got a weapon. But what's funny is that people even in California, how many times have I been at a concert, been out to drinks, and people get cold because they didn't realize everybody underdresses.
And you're like, hey, wait.
And I'm like, I come to the rescue. I'm like, how about that? I know.
That's sweet.
We went whale watching, and it was my kid and her school.
Yeah.
And we were on a boat. Now it was a beautiful day out, but guess who knew that it was going to get cold as shit?
Yeah.
And everybody was going to get seasick.
It's the Pacific, yeah.
It's the Pacific, dude.
Yeah.
So I had a backpack, and my wife was like, "What's with your backpack?"
Dramamine?
And I was like, "I got Dramamine, I got the beads, and I got fucking toasty warm fleeces for the whole family." And I'm looking around, and people are like, "Ugh," and they're like, "I'm freezing, I want to turn around." And we were toasty as a cup of
and not
fucking
puking.
1, 2, 3, 4 buns, not puking at all.
Yeah.
And we were watching the whales.
You're semi-premiered.
Yep, and I brought a small harpoon. Let me finish.
Ooh.
I know. I know. I harpooned the whale, and we
Did
rode
you?
it all the way back to shore.
You murdered
and
it?
And I drank its fucking oil.
I believe it.
And now I have lamps.
You're a killer.
Thanks, bro.
You're a killer, man.
Yeah, fuck whales.
Yeah. You just hit the pinky up.
Why is Bryan mad at whales?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. After this, I'm gonna
Read my book.
I swear to God, but you got to send it to me to the right address.
Yeah, it's in the trash can.
Are we having dinner tonight?
What are we going to eat? Depends.
I don't know.
If I have to drive more than an hour, I'm out.
You won't be far. But hey, check with me the next time you come to LA,
I take my
bro.
pain meds.
You're staying somewhere in the middle of
know.
nowhere. You just had your neck worked on.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's kind
Are
of
you
weird.
in pain?
Yeah, I took 2 pain pills a day because I hate it's narc. It's called narc.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this Percocet?
You seem fine.
No, it's narc. I'm good with narc, but it comes off. Like I take it at 8 in the morning. It's good for 6 hours, and I usually extend it to 8 or 9 because I don't want to take one midday because it makes me feel like dog shit.
Yes.
And so, but I was like, I hate anything. You say narc, opiate, anything, I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
Until this happened.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't even breathe, man. It's a different kind of pain.
It's a different kind of pain.
It's the core of pain. It's the origin story of pain.
100%. Well, that's where your neck is, sir.
That's the spine.
Is there, what's the prognosis?
So I got in touch with Rogan, and he put me in contact with the stem cell. Have you done that one?
Hold
the
on.
stem cell?
Joe Rogan's a podcaster. Keep going.
Yeah. He gave me the contact to CPI, which is a organization that does stem cell, and they specialize in spinal issues, which is like perfect because I'm dealing with that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have that. The prognosis is good. They did say in C5 when they dremeled out the scar tissue out of C5, it's the most scar tissue they've ever seen in C5. And my guy's like a 10-year surgeon, neurosurgeon. And he's like, dude, it's the most I've ever had a Dremel in C5. It extended my surgery by 30 minutes because of the amount of scar tissue.
So there was a lot of work in there. So that's why that pain's going to be there for a while.
It's going to be there for a while. Like my hand right now, my trigger finger and parts of my thumb are still numb, completely numb. But my hand and complete arm was numb pre-surgery.
Oh, it was. I remember you
complete
said
impingement.
you said you could like turn and you'd be done for 6 months. Your neck was so fucked up.
Yeah, I would
Is that
blow
from
it out.
Carrying a backpack and just having that military neck, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, most of it is from free fall operations where you're deploying a chute at terminal velocity, 120 plus miles an hour, and then the chute with a helmet, an 8-pound helmet with all the accessories, is I'm looking up at the chute while I'm going from terminal velocity to 0.
Well, that's not good.
My neck goes forward and blows my neck out. I mean, I have pictures of landing and like them immediately putting a neck brace and shooting me up with Toradol in the ass, and that just was my life for decades. I'm surprised. Like I talked to Andy Stump about it, and he's got more jumps than any human I know. He doesn't deal with any neck issues, and I'm like, none. It's like none. Like,
Yeah.
you're lucky.
Yeah.
I wasn't so
Some people
fortunate.
escape that shit.
Yeah, my first injury was in Ranger School when I was 19 with my neck, and then I went straight from Ranger School to Airborne School, kind of in reverse.
So your
And it
military
screwed me up.
experience was Rangers, Green Beret,
Yeah.
and then what did you do from there?
So I did the CIA post my military experience. I was in the Global Response Staff Office of the CIA, like 13 hours in Benghazi. I actually got recruited in Libya.
So the
on active
Global
duty.
Response Team is a team that, so if you've got somebody in the CIA, you guys accompany him in case
Protect
the
him.
shit hits the fan.
Yeah, so
So you're technically not in the CIA, you work with them.
No, as I was what's called a direct. There's 2 components. There's industrials. And industrials are guys that are hired by an outsourced company to provide support to the agency. And then you have directs, guys who work directly for the agency. So I was a direct. So I reported to Langley. I did all the things. And my job was to provide protection for case officers who aren't the most competent tactical people.
They need tactical guys.
They need people to protect.
Did you ever want to go on into CIA, into all that stuff?
Yeah.
You did.
So I got the reason I transitioned out of the military so late in the game was because I got recruited for the CIA by Ground Branch.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, you got recruited into Ground
I did.
Branch.
The Paramilitary Operations Office recruited me in Libya. I did parts of my application, got approved. And then when I left active service at the time as a master sergeant, I went to the reserve component of Special Forces. And when I went to transition, because I just finished my college degree, it took me 15 years to get my undergraduate degree, which is a
Took me
prerequisite.
4.
Yeah, no big deal.
Sorry.
No big deal.
Go on.
I immediately was set up and prepared to go do all of the training. But the sequester, I don't know if you remember the sequester. They had a sequester in 2013, 2012 into 13. That sequester did a stop freeze on all hiring. So when I got out, I'm like,
Why?
dude, it was a budget constraint.
got it.
And so they didn't hire, they didn't do anything. They said, hey, we're in a budget freeze. And I'm like, dude, I left the active military as a master sergeant, as a team sergeant in Special Forces to become a full-time paramilitary operations officer, ground branch officer. I'm like, what do I do? And so they said, we could send you to training to vet to become a GRS guy in the interim until we figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So I go to GRS vetting, I make it, then immediately go overseas to Yemen, and I start to see all behind the curtain, and then quickly realized
You don't want to be in ground branch.
I don't want to be in ground branch. Like literally, those guys were getting up. I mean, the ground branch, by the way, I think is one of the best jobs with the best human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And they're completely relevant in this field of expertise, counterterrorism. But at the time, I'm like, these guys can't do anything. They're being stagnated because of politics.
Yeah.
At the time, I think it was Brennan who took over the CIA, and it got political really fast.
Yeah.
And so my job in GRS, to this day, GRS, outside of owning my own company, has been the best job I've ever had in the military, in the government.
Mainly because of the
GRS.
people, the high quality people you're around.
The best, like me and Sean Ryan.
He seems like a cool guy.
We were GRS guys together. The most competent, capable tactical shooters on the planet. And people are like, people who make fun of me, they're like, oh, you can't shoot. You never show the targets. Like, I promise you I could shoot. I'm not going to brag about it. I promise you I could shoot. And every person on that job is the most competent tactical shooters, even in the military, I've ever seen.
Wow.
I've ever seen.
Wow.
I mean, we had a class of 15.
First of all, you guys are older. You've been
All
doing
of
it for a long
us, senior
time.
guys, all sergeant majors, all officers,
Yeah,
like
I
senior
mean,
guys.
You've got your 10,000 hours in, so it makes
Yeah,
sense
we got the
to me.
reps in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys, look, I went to vetting with 15 guys of the best dudes I've ever seen, and I think 7 of us passed, a 50% hit ratio on the best. Like Dev, the unit, Marsoc, the best dudes on the planet, and it got whittled down. And these guys were like very competent.
Wow. Tim Kennedy tells a great story about you. How you risked really your entire career
Yeah.
to spot for him.
Snipers, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why he loves you. I really liked his book, Scars and Stripes.
It's one, look,
I love that
I
book.
love Tim Kennedy. He's one of my favorite
I'm going
people.
hunting with him.
Dude, he's one of the best human beings I've ever, like,
love
there's
that,
not, I saw on the Rogan post.
Yeah, it's hard to believe how great he is. Like you're always like,
yeah.
what's the catch here?
Yeah.
You know why is you like
There's no catches.
But there's no catch. He's just
And Scars and Stripes tells you all the things that, like
Dude.
him being a scumbag.
such a good book.
One of the best books I've ever,
Yeah.
military-wise. I texted him.
And
I was
I would make the argument you want to talk about just tough as shit in terms of like just the most like just you know how good he was as an MMA fighter? Do you know how fucking good he
How
was?
powerful he was.
Well, he also basically beat Yoel Romero, but they
Yeah.
fucked up with the I mean,
yeah.
he took on all comers.
All of them.
And was a full-time, soldier at the time. It's like,
Yeah. Devastating.
Yeah.
Power.
we're going to go shoot partridge
Yeah.
at a very rich friend of mine's house.
Make out for him from me. Like, I sacrifice your lips and mouth.
We're going to be drinking a lot of wine. You never know.
Say it's from Mike. Bill.
Me and his buddy Carl, who runs Sheepdog Response, we're going to be
Yeah.
hanging out. These are men. Men. And
Yeah.
I'm a little older, so I don't know how attractive they find me. But
Yeah.
the
Wear
night
that
is-
cashmere,
the night
no
is
pants.
Oh, I'll be wearing cashmere.
Tuck it back. You're in. You're in.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna tell you a story, and then we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna wear probably just something. I like to wear sweatpants with no underwear. Just to keep it keeps people
up the
around me
competition?
honest. Yeah, it keeps me honest.
yeah.
They go, hey, you're thin, but what's going on down there?
Yeah.
Right? And I go like this. I go, I know.
Yeah.
Guess what? And they go, what? I go, I win. That's what I say.
Do you prep the objective a lot? We used to call it like cold cuts and then
Yeah.
prepping the objective. Do you go in the bathroom and kind of do some things and then you come out warmed up?
I'm not in a court of law, and that's none of your business.
Do you like pull and tug?
That's none of your business.
Okay, I'm just saying, you have to
dude.
stretch,
I
get
do what I
limber.
got. Maybe I'm doing that right now. Can you see my hands?
No.
No, you can't.
No, you're just warming up.
Here's my wife, I made the mistake. I was on Instagram, and there's this dude who couldn't be better looking this African American gentleman,
Yeah.
this ebon god, and he comes out and he's got these sweatpants and whatever's going on down there, he's showing his dick is his monstrous member is pushing against the sweat. So I send my wife
the same thing.
I send it to her. I send it to her, and I'm on the plane
down.
on board, and I send her this. I send her the guy's profile. And I just say slut or something like that. Because I'm like, that guy's better looking, and I just feel like if you see this, you're cheating on me in your mind. I send it, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just send it because I'm a mess.
Yeah.
And she's younger, and I'm a piece of shit. But anyway, I send her that. When you do that, Instagram starts sending you a bunch of hot dudes with their dicks because now they think you're gay. So I've got my feed is flooded with really good-looking guys with half chub.
Why do you keep following them and subscribing to them though?
For research.
Oh, okay, got it.
For research, for fieldcraft survival, dude. You got to know who's there.
Yes.
In case you get cold.
You got to be prepared.
If you're caught in a blizzard.
You don't want cold cuts.
Yeah, body heat.
Prep that objective.
Guys, this has been semi-straight Bryan Callen and Mike Glover. I hope you learned everything. I could talk to you all day.
It's fun.
Bro, thanks.
I really like you. You're a really good person.
Thank you, buddy. And I feel the same about you.
From the waist up.
We hit it up. Well, tonight's going to be great. We're going to eat, and your assistants
what are we
who are sitting
eat?
there in t-shirts. It's fucking cold here.
Yeah,
you guys
they're freezing their.
Yeah, but they haven't moved, dude. That's discipline right there.
Yeah.
This has been Off Limits. I hope you guys learned everything and
nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Keep up doing what you're doing, buddy.
Always, man.
You're making a difference.
Thank you.
And thanks for your service and all that good stuff.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
I love you. What?
I love you. I love you.
Guys, if you like this episode, all you got to do is click this link somewhere over here, and it'll take you over to Mug Club, where you can watch the rest of the episode. You can also watch a bunch of other content, namely Louder with Crowder, Steven Crowder.